Hello, Grumpy Old Fart here. I'm doing a TV series review of Battlestar Galactica. And many of you are aware of I want to say it's a 2003 version, 2004, excuse me, version of Galactica. And it was really good. But I'm going to start from the original, the classic Battlestar Galactica from back in 1978. It was a huge show. This is the sad part. It was a huge show. It was very popular. But it only had 24 episodes. I'm going to get to that in a minute. It followed Star Wars. It had laser guns and space fights with fighters and stuff like that. And George Lucas, who made Star Wars, thought that they had copied a lot of his stuff. And he sued them for copying him. The people who did Galactica, I want to say it was Glenn Larson and some others, their defense was that Lucas had copied everyone else when he did Star Wars. And their defense worked, because Galactica won. So they continued doing their thing. The reason it only had 24 episodes, people were clamoring for episodes, and they were rushing production. There's stories of them getting the script as they're shooting it, or getting a script for something they'd already shot, because they, and it was a madhouse. They had 3 sound stages working constantly, working 24 hours a day, and they were rushing production so much because the studios wanted these episodes, and after 24 episodes, they just couldn't do it anymore. So that's why it ended after one season, and they did a second series called Galactica 1980, where they found Earth, and I'll get into that in a minute, but it wasn't very good. It didn't last. You change so many stars and the basic premise of it, and you kill a series that way. But I'm going to start with the beginning here. 1978, Battlestar Galactica. This series had everything. It dealt with the ancient alien theory. It did robots, space battles, religion and morality, romance, human interaction, survival of humanity. It dealt with the human condition. It literally covered every base, and it was brilliant. This show was ostensibly made for the younger crowd, kids. When I was a kid, for example, but so it tried to keep things pretty simple, and it was a lot of flash and pomp, as it were, to excite the kids. But there was a lot of morality tales there as well. And keep in mind, it's the 70s, so the special effects were a little weird. They were trying to make stuff up as they go along. The stars of this were outstanding. Lorne Greene played Commander Adama. Richard Hatch played Apollo, and he had a character, Tom Zarek, in the second series, and from 2004 as well. He has since passed, and he's sorely missed, because he was really big in the sci-fi. He was a science fiction icon. Dirk Benedict played Starbuck. Maren Jensen played Athena. Laurette Spang, her last name now is McCormick, but at the time it was Laurette Spang. She played Cassiopeia. Herbert Jefferson Jr. played Boomer. Noah Hathaway played Boxy. Terry Carter played Ty. John Colicos played Baltar. For those of you who don't know, John Colicos, he's passed now, but he was one of the most iconic science fiction actors of all time. He's a brilliant actor. He played Kur in the old Star Trek series, in the Next Generation, in the original series, and in Deep Space Nine. He played Kur, and Kur was brilliant. John Colicos played that character. You want to say people jump on a horse and ride it till it dies. He rode that horse across the finish line hundreds of times because he did it so well. Anne Lockhart is in it. She played a character named Sheba, and a lot of big name guest stars as well. They had Lloyd Bridges played Commander Kane of a second Battlestar they find named the Pegasus. Jane Seymour plays Serena. She ended up marrying Apollo. Of course, then she dies, Sarah Rush played Rigel. Ed Begley Jr., she was a regular. She wasn't a guest star. Ed Begley Jr. was a regular. He played Green Bean. Larry Manetti from the original Magnum PI. He played Giles. It's just it was such a wonderful show. Great stars, great acting. The writing was really good. And the basic plot is Baltar, played by John Colicos. He plays a good bad guy. He betrays humanity by helping the Cylons sneak attack the human fleet under the guise of a peace envoy. He's got the president's ear. People are Adama is telling him, hey, there's a wall of ships coming, and I don't think they're us. And the guy says, it's probably just a peace envoy. If you can't launch. And he says, well, maybe we should launch a peace envoy of our own just to be on the safe side. No, you can't do that because you'll provoke them, and this is the first peace we've had in so many years. Blah blah blah. And of course, they concentrate fire on the president's Battlestar, the Atlantia, and it blowed up real good. The way they did it was good. It showed on the bridge of the ship explosive decompression. The president's standing there holding onto the railing, and they're trying to suck him out into space. The fire everywhere, guys trying to get the buttons to work. They did a good job. Okay, it's believable. It's really believable. I heard an actress one time say, the way you sell fantasy or science fiction or mystery or whatever is when you act, be in that place. In your mind, be there. That's the way you sell it. And buddy, they did it here. There's a shot where they retract the shield on the Galactica, and they're watching the Atlantia be attacked, and it blows up. The President's Battlestar blows up, and it's awe-inspiring. It's terrifying the way they do it. That's the first time you ever see a big ship like that explode. At least the first time I ever did, and it wasn't contrived or. It's part of the plot, so you don't know what's going to happen. But damn it, they sold it. They did it well. Furthering the plot, the Galactica is the only surviving Battlestar, the warship, and they gather together every space-worthy ship, and they take off they load them full of as many people as they can get, and they take off across the stars looking for the fabled 13th colony, Earth. And this is heavily based in astrology because, their colonies are Caprica, based on Capricorn, Pycon, based on Pisces, and, like that. And what's really funny is you see all these ships going and joining the fleet, and one of them as it passes by, it says, on the side is written, Colonial Movers, we move anywhere. I love that. It's awesome. Anyway, they are pursued by Baltar, who is leading 3 Cylon base ships. And he is tasked by the Cylon leader to exterminate the humans. And that's the gist of this story so far. They end up finding another Battlestar, the Pegasus, and Commander Kane, played by Lloyd Bridges. I don't recall the actress's name that played her in the second series, because they did run into the Pegasus. But she was an admiral and ended up outranking Adama. The reboot in 2004 was a good show. It had good material to work with. So, when you got good material, you really can't go wrong. But they did a pretty good job here. And they saved a lot of money because they didn't have to do the laser special effects and stuff. They used actual guns, ammo, bullets, things like that. But then this show, the 2004 reboot had a significant problem. And it had nothing to do with the show itself. Right in the middle of production, I want to say it was the second or third season, they had a writer's strike. And it affected a lot of shows. I remember Lost suffered. The TV series Lost suffered as well. But this was on about the same time. And a lot of other shows suffered as well. You had these hack writers coming in, and they're just fill in, and it ended up who's sleeping with who every week. It was ridiculous. But a lot of good big name stars. What was the guy's name, babe, that played Adama? He was in Miami Vice. Edward James Olmos. That was his name. I couldn't remember his name, but he was in it, and he played Adama. And really good actors. A lot of good big name actors here. I got 2 standouts in the reboot from 2004. There's 2 standout actors that I have to name because they're my 2 favorite actors in that. One of them is Aaron Douglas. He played Crew Chief Galen Tyrrell. When you're doing a show like that, it's assumed that there's people fixing the spaceships and this and that. Well, this guy was the guy who fixed the fighters. He was a crew chief, and he was an engineer on the ship. He fixed stuff. They did it in Star Trek a lot, but in a lot of these big TV series and movies and stuff like that, they don't show the guy down there turning the wrench. Well, this is the guy. Okay. And he's a great actor. Aaron Douglas is a great actor, and he did that part exceedingly well. The other one I want to bring up is Michael Hogan. He played Colonel Saul Tigh. Colonel Tigh in the original was played by Terry Carter, and Terry Carter is a brilliant actor. But the writing didn't allow him to really explore that character that well. Usually he was in the background, yes sir, I'll get right on that, or in the background, yeah, good job, that kind of thing. In this one, Saul Tigh, they developed that character, oh my God, so well. He was an alcoholic. He had issues, especially with his wife. So many things plagued that man, but he did his job, and he did it well. He was the guy you could count on to do the right, well, maybe not the right thing, but to do what he felt was the right thing every single time. And he was a dependable guy, and everybody, and he there's another character, Starbuck, in the original played by Dirk Benedict. This one was played by Katie Sackhoff. They made it a female character, and she did a good job too, but she and her character and Saul Tigh didn't get along. She actually goes to, in the beginning, right there at the beginning, she actually goes to the break for punching him. It's funny. But anyway, those two actors I have to mention because they stand out in my mind as the two best in the series. And there's a lot of, and that's not taking anything away from the others because they're all good. I'm just saying. The best scene, there's two scenes in there that really break you up in the second one, and it makes you feel the emotion of the moment. And these two things are, one of them is, there's a ship called the Olympic Carrier. It's got 1,000 passengers, and they're trying to run from the bad guys, the Cylons, the robots, and they're trying to run from the bad guys, and they're jumping faster than light. They're jumping from point A to point B, several jumps in a row to confuse them, so the Cylons can't find them. Well, one of the ships doesn't show up on time, so they're going to wait for him for a little bit, and several hours later, it shows up. It won't answer any hailing calls or anything, and it's traveling right at them, and their sensors detect that there's a nuclear weapon on board, and it's a danger to the fleet. So these two fighters, Apollo and Starbuck, they have to line up behind this thing, and it could very possibly be 1,000 people on that ship, and to save everybody else, they have to blow it up. It's terrifying, and there's such emotion in that. They do it well. To me, that's one of the best scenes there. The other one, there's a ship loaded with civilians, and they're having to leave to escape to save everybody. And this ship, it's for some reason, I don't recall if it didn't have faster than light travel, or if it hadn't been upgraded, or it wasn't working, or whatever. And they had to leave this ship behind because the Cylons were coming. They knew the Cylons were coming. So they had to leave. And you can hear the people on that ship yelling, please don't leave us, please don't leave us. And finally one of them yells, I hope you rot in hell. The emotion of that moment in this series is awe-inspiring, breathtaking. These people sold it. They did it well. And it shows what humans have to do sometimes to survive. And the people who made that order were conflicted, and you felt it. Oh my God, you felt it. That was really well done. This took place before the writer's strike, of course, when the backup writers came in and just screwed everything up. But all in all, it's a good series. Both of them, from '78 is good, and from the 2004 version, very, very good. This show set a lot of standards for TV science fiction, especially with special effects and things like that. It's right up there with Star Trek, Doctor Who, Orville, Stargate, Star Wars, X-Files, Farscape, you name it. It's up there. It's one of the big names. And if you get a chance to watch these, I highly recommend them. Both of them from '78 and the new one. Time watching those is time well spent. And just, keep that in mind. This particular video is a lot longer than I had intended it to be, but when I'm talking about something I enjoy, I can really, really go on, and I apologize for that. But again, if you get the opportunity to see these, check them out and actually look at them. We bought the series Galactica, the new ones, and I intend to get the old ones. You folks have a good day. God bless one and all.